If you want to register your own vote on this, the question tonight is, if you're in this country, shouldn't you speak English? You have to learn English to get along in most of the country, but there are also places where you don't, where immigrants can live their entire lives speaking only their native language. Places like Miami's Little Havana neighborhood, or Hialeah, or parts of Westchester, and many others, where virtually everyone speaks Spanish and many speak no English at all. John Zarrella joining us now from Miami. He's based in that part of the country. He knows what it's like firsthand to live there, and he joins us now with this report. Take it away, John.
Hey, Rick. Well, you know, I'm outside the Versailles restaurant. You know it well, in Miami's Little Havana neighborhood. Here, you're more likely to hear people speaking Spanish than speaking anything else. You know, Miami's often called the northernmost Latin American city in the world, where you can get by just fine speaking Spanish. But to get ahead, well, that's another story. In Miami, there are plenty of people who speak only one language, and it's not English. I'm with CNN.
No habla inglés.
No habla inglés?
No.
Hi, I'm with CNN. Can I ask you a question?
No English.
No English? You want to be on CNN? You speak English?
No mucho, poquito.
Not much English?
No, poquitito.
People often quip you can be born, live, and die in Miami and never speak a word of English. Signs, billboards, the newspaper. It's all here in Spanish. Top-rated local newscast in Spanish.
Muy buenas noches. 6 trabajadores continúan.
According to census numbers, of the more than 2,200,000 people in Miami-Dade County, nearly 1.5 million speak Spanish at home. Compare that to this number. Less than 650,000 people in Miami-Dade speak only English at home. While it's easy to get by here knowing just Spanish, to get ahead, the vast majority of Hispanics living here believe English is still a must.
He said when you touch, it's bad.
Twice a week, English classes for adults are offered at Broward County libraries. In Mexico, Fabiola Aleman was a nurse. She wants to be one here.
I want to get better job. And it's the only way that I'm going to get better job if I learn the language.
There's no question about it.
If you want to go global, as they use the term nowadays, you better know English.
Javier Romero hosts a hugely successful morning radio show. 250,000 people in Miami listen to him every day in Spanish. His English is nearly flawless as well, a definite plus.
We deal with English every day. I mean, commercials we read on the air sometimes come in English from the advertising agencies in New York, so we have to translate them, or we have to adapt them to the Spanish language.
But as the Hispanic population here continues growing and the Anglo population continues to decline, the reality is, unless you want to compete globally, you can get by fine speaking nothing but Spanish.
John joins us now live. John, explain to people who haven't been to Miami or don't live in Miami what it's like to live in that city and not speak a lick of Spanish, and how problematic it can be for you.
It can be very problematic. I know many people who come down to Miami on occasion or come in through Miami International Airport. You ask for directions, you ask for some place to go to get something to eat, you stop, and you're told, as we were told in that piece, no habla inglés. So it can be very difficult. It's frustrating. So frustrating, Rick, that, you know, in past years, there were moves in Florida, moves in Miami, English-only referendums. You remember all that well from your time down here, because it had been such a divisive issue and so frustrating for the Anglos who live here.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I remember the banners. I remember the take the flag with you if you can. John Zarrella joining us now from Miami. Do we need English-only laws? Is one of the questions that's being asked in South Florida. Are communities like Miami's Little Havana actually holding immigrants back by allowing them to avoid speaking English? Or is it just part of the marketplace? Joyce Kaufman, she's the host of her own show on Miami's WFTL 850. She speaks fluent Spanish, by the way, and her mother was from Puerto Rico. She says she's had enough of this with people speaking Spanish everywhere she goes. Then on the other side of the coin, we have Jose Cancela, very well known in his own right, president of Hispanic USA. He's also the author author of The Power of Business in Espanol. So these are two great guests to tee this up with. Joyce, I want to begin with you. So the Cuban Americans come to the United States. They create this huge marketplace in South Florida. Most of them have moved on. Now the Nicaraguans have come in, the Salvadorans have come in, the Hondurans have come in, the Venezuelans have come in, many of these first generation. So Miami continues to be really replenished with new immigrants. And since they're early arrivals, most of them don't speak English. You can understand that, right? Because on the one hand, it's a good thing. It's creating a good marketplace for goods that helps the United States economically, right?
Well, it's a good thing if you don't have any desire to have an America that looks like the America the forefathers set up. You know, Rick, buenas noches. I just want to say I have nothing against the Spanish language. When I go home tonight, I will speak exclusively in Spanish once I close the door behind me. But when I'm out in the public, my desire is to be part of this country, to be a productive American who speaks English in the commerce. I go down to the Miami arena. I used to have a season's ticket for the Miami Heat. I don't want an arepa. I want a hot dog. What's wrong with that?
It seems to be
I want to go out on the street.
It seems to be highly personal for you. And you know, Jose Cancela, I'm sure you understand this. There are people out there who are just insulted by the fact that they feel like in their country, they got to listen to the majority of people around them speaking Spanish. And in some cases, they won't even speak English to them. You get that, right?
Joyce, look, Rick, thank you so much for having us here. Yeah, of course we get it. Listen, it's good to go to Miami Heat game and be able to have a hot dog and an arepa. Unfortunately, people like Joyce, what they're doing is they're throwing venom. They're using this cheap argument that this is dividing America to really divide with the argument themselves that they're posing. The fact is that Spanish language is here to stay. It's part of our country today. It's part of the fabric of our country. It makes us a better global competitor, and people have to start accepting that. And there's nothing wrong with that, Joyce.
Let's let Joyce.
Because that's your business. I'm not a hate monger, and if it weren't for Spanish-speaking people, you wouldn't have a business. So I understand your agenda, but my agenda
it's not an agenda.
is
It's
to
a
remind
reality.
you
This is
that
not an agenda, Joyce. You're the one that has an agenda.
But hey, let's stop real quick,
This
guys,
is
and let me ask you a question, because the point that Joyce is making, and maybe some of the viewers don't understand it, is because you've got experience in Hispanic media. Some people say, look, Hispanic media is going to perpetuate this because they want people not to speak English. They want them to speak Spanish. They want people to watch Univision.
Rick,
but by the way, hey, Joyce, at the same time, you've got a radio show, and you've got a lot of viewers who love you because you're taking on these people speaking Spanish. So, you know, podcast.
There's a movement in this country right now to take America back, and you know it, Rick, and so does Jose. We defeated two amnesty bills. We defeated two amnesty bills on the power of talk radio and the internet. Those gringos that you have so little respect for, that you call bigots and racists, who formed this country, who made the greatest country in the world that you all want to come to, including my people in the past, and now you want to turn your nose up and say, well, you better learn to speak Spanish or it won't be global. There's nothing unbelievable about how we feel.
Let's give him a chance to respond. Go ahead, Jose.
Do you hear what she's spewing, the venom that she's spewing?
Ladies
and gentlemen, this is not about taking anything back.
You know who the number two,
Rick, Joyce, you know who the number two advertiser, excuse me, Joyce, I heard you, now you're going to hear me. Rick, do you know who the number 2 advertiser is on Spanish language television, only after Procter & Gamble? It's English courses, a company called Lexicon, selling English courses at almost $1,100 a clip. This is not about people not wanting to learn English. This is people about having the preference to be bilingual and bicultural and be part of this great country. In my book, I dedicate a chapter, we call it, We Love the USA. Listen, there's a place in Illinois, a little town called Silvis, Illinois, that over 50 individuals have given their life for this country. We love this country. We want to be part of this country, but we want to be able to do it in English.
It's not that complicated.
It's all about speaking English or Espanol. Let's leave it right there, guys. We appreciate the heated debate. We'll come back with a lot more of this. Stay with us. Our guest coming back as we continue the discussion on whether some of this is really just generational. By the way, we want to know what you think.